I would like to call the meeting to order tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Roll call, Mr. Lundberg.
Mullin.
Yes.
Odie. Yep. Hegland. Klatt.
Yep.
Schreier. Yep.
All right, next we have up the approval of the agenda. Is there any changes, modifications, anything that needs to be brought above the consent line that anyone would like tonight?
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. There are no conflict of interest disclosure or waiver requests to work on tonight. So that takes us to community input. Do we have any community input tonight? Hearing none, that takes us to general business item. Our first administration reports, the Smarter Balanced Assessment presentation.
Hi, I'm Becky Moore, and I'm the District Assessment Coordinator, and we are starting Smarter Balanced Assessments. The high school will be April 11th and 12th, and the rest of them, grades 3 through 8, will be April 18th through the 28th. And I just wanted to tell you what the Smarter Balanced Assessment consists of. It consists of 4 tests. The first one is the ELA summative. It's a computer adaptive test. This is, it's about 40 multiple choice items that the students, they read a passage, which is usually a long passage, and there's probably 8 or 9 questions regarding that passage. So there's about 40 of those questions. It's not a time test, so they say it approximately takes about 1.5 hours to test, but it doesn't always take that. It just depends. And this needs to be administered before the performance task, which I'm going to talk about. And they do split this up. So like sometimes it's only 10 questions a day, but they will split that up for the kids. So it's not so much, especially in the younger grades. The next one is the ELA summative performance task, and this is the research and writing portion of the test. And the research and writing portion goes right into each other, so it's like 3 or 4 passages, and there's like 4 questions, constructive responses, and you can take notes on that. And there's a notepad that you can take notes on the computer, but they can also take scratch paper and write the notes. Then it goes right into the writing part of it, and the notepad will come up for the writing part of it. It won't go back to those 4 questions that they took, and then you perform a writing essay regarding whatever task they've asked you to do. This is long. Especially for the younger grades, it's hard for them. The math summative is computer adaptive. Now, computer adaptive, it means that you're taking the same, it's in the grade level questions, but once you answer a question, they will either bump you up to a higher level question in that same grade or bump you down. So that's what computer adaptive is. Again, math is the 30 to 35 multiple choice, and the math summative is a performance task, and this test will be some specific task they will ask them to problem solve and write about for math. So there's a lot of things going on in the Smarter Balanced Assessment, and the teachers have been helping these students all along, all year. And it's not only, going by what the standards say, but it also is about teaching them how to maneuver on the computer. It's teaching them. So we're going to show you a couple examples of, this one is the ELA summative computer adaptive one, and I believe it's a 3rd grade, so they go through all of this. Yep. And on the left-hand side, that is the reading. So this is 3rd grade, and you can see on the left-hand side, if you can scroll down on, yep. They read all of that. And then on the right-hand side, there are questions about that text. And there should be probably about 8, sometimes. There's a part A, part B, 4, 5. There's constructive responses besides just the multiple choice. And that's the ELA, and that's 3rd grade. So when they get up into the higher grades, it gets more complex. Okay, and then the next one, if we can get to that one, will be the ELA summative performance task. And this one, there's usually 3 or 4 questions about, and if you go on, scroll down, there's usually like 3 or 4 sources that they read. So it goes down a long ways. And then on the right-hand side, they answer those questions. And the notepad, can you hit the notepad up there on the very top? Right, yep, yep. And then they can type on that and save and close. So when you get out of this section and go into the writing part, where it's they write about this task, then they have all their notes from what they wrote on there. And the math is the same way. The calculators, there are no calculators for 3rd through 5th, but there are 6th through 8th and 11th. So you can see that it's a lot different than the testing that we used to take with the paper.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So on that lengthy 3rd grade reading and then answering questions, you mentioned the notebook on the second one. Can they use a notepad on the first one
Yes, they can.
as well?
They can use a notepad on the first one, but it doesn't save from question to question because it doesn't need to. But you can write the notes on there.
And can they highlight things, or
They can highlight, yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes we can turn that highlight off because some kids like to play with that. So that's, the teachers know which ones that you can just, yeah.
And then the other question is, you mentioned that there's no time limit on this. If
Right.
students want extra time, are we able to provide them with as much time as they
Yes.
would need? Okay.
Yes,
That's great.
because if they give them a lot of time in the, how long, maybe 45 minutes, and then they'll come back the next day, and everything will save for them. They can't go back and look at it. Everything will save up to the point, so they start right where they left off. So that's...
At what grade level have we introduced keyboarding skills?
And this is really good to have more computer teachers, because what I found this year is the computer teachers we have practice tests, which this is what you saw was a practice test, and anybody can go in there. The parents can go in there. The letters are going out to the parents where they can go in and look at the practice tests and even go over it with the kids. But there's also interim blocks that we've introduced this year, and they are on the secure browser, so it's good practice for them, and the computer teachers are doing that a couple times, probably 3 times before the test, and then then the teachers can see the results, because you get results from those interim blocks. So it's really good to have those computer teachers there. And yes, when we first started this 4 years ago, grade 3, that was really hard for them. It was really hard. It was just painful to watch some of them do it, and the teachers felt so sorry for them. But I see much better keyboarding now.
We did increase computer time in second grade 2 times a week because of that.
Becky, if I got a question. So really, sort of summing this up is, this is accumulation of what you folks have done in the schools all since school started in September, and it's just to see where the kids are today.
Yes.
Okay. My next question is, on this written assessment, or, okay, who grades it? I mean,
It is-
each kid can write a different,
Right, and
How do you do
there are rubrics for it, and we have the rubrics. There are exemplars that the Smarter Balance has for this, and then it is scored, hand-scored. In fact, all across the United States, we have people who hand-score them. I had a friend out in Rapid City who did that for a year. But they were taught how to, and they had the rubrics and they have the exemplars. Anything else? Just to show you what the kids are going to be going through and what the teachers have. I mean, you need to applaud those teachers. They have been doing great work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Moore. Next, under administration report, superintendent report, Superintendent Larson.
Absolutely, thank you. Real quickly, just want to provide you an update on our accreditation. We had an on-site accreditation on March 21st. It has been completed. To quote one of the reviewers, overall, things look really good. There's emergency drill documentation that they brought up. Our emergency drills are all documented. We store those on a Google Doc where our principals are able to update the information as we conduct those emergency drills, and their recommendation was that our secretaries have access to those Google Docs as well, so we'll be adding that. There were a couple of instances where birth certificates were not in a student file, whether that's parents and or guardians have not supplied the birth certificate, or whether or not we've gone through the process to try and obtain that through our state's attorney, et cetera. So we have to write ultimately a statement of assurance that we will continue to seek those birth certificates from those families. And then also a statement of assurance that's required is regarding principal evaluation. Our principal evaluation process, we are only utilizing the school performance index as a measure of student growth, or school growth, I should say. The current rules state that you have to utilize SLO, aggregate SLO percentages of teachers that have met their SLOs. I would tell you that in the new rules proposed in accordance to ESSA, the Department of Education has made it whereas schools can choose utilizing SLOs only, utilizing the SPI only, or utilizing a combination of both, so our strategy and approach will be aligned to the new rules. So that would be the overall takeaway from accreditation, but overall things went really well, and I appreciate our teachers' time and also our principals' time through the interview process and all of those items. So appreciate that. Before I move on, any questions on accreditation, because there's a few things that we're going to touch. Okay. Legislative session, just real quick, there are obviously a lot more bills than this, but these were 4 that I did want to highlight that had passed. 35 was the funding bill. 140, Senate Bill 140 is a hands-only CPR AED requirement that's now placed on schools. I've been in direct communication with Principal Thorson regarding our strategy to implement that requirement. It's unique. They're not requiring that the individual be certified or the kids obtain a certification from the curriculum, but they are requiring that it be presented. So we're in the process of looking at that. Principal Thorson's going to meet with his nursing staff and his health teacher, because we offer that 8th grade credit as the high school requirement for health. So we're working through that. 1170, the conflict of interest bill we've spoken about, establishes guidelines more specific. For example, $5,000 is the set number. And then House Bill 1006, revisions to certain requirements for public notice, changing it to 72 hours versus the current 24. Lastly, I'll just provide you with a quick update on our middle school remodel construction project. We have a pre-construction meeting set for tomorrow, looking at a mid to late April start, pending weather and conditions and all of those items. And then I also just wanted to follow up, we had some discussion about an amendment change order to an existing contract. So under this contract, because it's $1.5 million, it falls in the $500,000 to $2.5 million project, and you can amend or alter that contract with a change order up to 10% of the base contract. That's per the Department of Legislative Audit. We are in no way, shape, or form anticipate anything like that transpiring, but I just wanted to clarify, the actual percentages are 500,000 and below were 15%, 500,000 to $2.5 million were 10, and then anything over $2.5 million was a 5% allowable change when you amended or change ordered on a contract. So I just wanted to clarify and restate that. Also want to bring you up to speed on our current situation. I would tell you administratively, we continually evaluate the efficiency and effectiveness of our strategies and our methods within our system. At this exact point in time, I would tell you that prior to this, I've extended the professional courtesy to the print shop to make certain that they were aware that this conversation has started and that the evaluation process has started, and that I would be telling the board that we're in the process of evaluating efficiency and effectiveness of the current print shop method. So that happened. Director Henschel and myself went over and spoke directly with the print shop employee and let them know that we are evaluating the effectiveness and efficiency of the print shop. So at this point in time, like we do with everything, all methods, we continue to evaluate, are we efficient and are we effective? Are we making the most use of our available resources? So we're researching and reviewing a potential change to our copying strategy. So the print shop method basically surrounds that schools have a pink sheet of paper and they send one copy to the print shop and they say, I would like 25 copies by this date. I believe they have to turn it in 3 days ahead of time, 3 or 4 days ahead of time, in order for turnaround for it to happen and get back to the building. So that's the basic method of the print shop. What we're researching and reviewing is whether or not it would be more cost-effective and more time-effective for our people if we just increase the number of copy machines in each building. So we're working through A&B Business, who is our copy machine provider, as we review those potential changes. I have no recommendation at this point in time because we have not conducted all of the research and we've not reviewed all of the information to this point in time. I would tell you that there are some changes over the course of the past few decades in technology that have driven costs on individual machines down. It's gotten cheaper to have a copy machine in a building. And then we're also evaluating how we're utilizing our current print shop. So those are all things that we're considering as we evaluate the efficiency and the effectiveness of the print shop. I would also tell you that we're gathering feedback, specifically through my administrative council. I have spoken to the administrative council and asked them to go back and speak to their classroom teachers and gain perceptions. Now I can, with 100% guarantee you, not 100% of the individuals will probably agree on a strategy, but we are looking for a general consensus idea on whether or not they would find a different strategy or a different approach more effective. So I just wanted to tell you that evaluation is currently ongoing, and we will formulate a recommendation in the near future. I would entertain any questions on that item at this point in time.
Just one quick question. Are you, do we lease our printers? We don't own them, we lease them?
Release, yes.
And is that also part of the evaluation, kind of lease versus buy?
Yes, that'll be included in the whole recommendation as we evaluate current costs, additional costs, et cetera. Yep. Anything else? on that item. All right, this is the fun part. Mrs. Stotler, would you please stand up? Yeah, just stand there. Okay. Curriculum Director Stotler has received the 2016-2017 Outstanding Curriculum Director Award from the School Administrators of South Dakota and the Curriculum Directors segment. As a strong instructional leader, Mrs. Stotler has led the charge for many Brandon Valley initiatives, which have positively affected our district. The first was the process of developing our reading protocol. This involved our reading specialists, principals, and a school board member. This protocol then led to our Walk to Read platform that has changed our RTI in reading with positive results for our students. Walk to Read has become one of our state's models for RTI. By taking pieces from other programs, using best practices in instruction, and creating our own process, we are not only closing the gap for students, but increasing our student achievement as well. Thank you for all you do, and congratulations. Mr. Mark Schleckley, would you please stand up? Associate Principal Schleckley has been named the South Dakota Association of Secondary School Principals Region 2 Assistant Principal of the Year. The Brandon Valley High School Assistant Principal Mark Schleckley is an outstanding educational leader. His commitment to staff, students, and parents is demonstrated in his daily work through his servant leadership. Mr. Schleckley builds strong relationships with students, which helps promote the positive climate of the Brandon Valley High School. In addition to his leadership skill set, Mr. Schleckley has played a vital role in student safety as he facilitates and chairs the district safety committee. Thank you for all you do, and congratulations. All right, very good. And then just briefly, a couple of quick upcoming items. I just want to outline the timeline for teacher negotiations. We have preparations on the agenda tonight. Personnel welfare, we will have to get together and meet prior to our joint meeting with BVEA, and then ultimately come to a tentative agreement, bringing forward a formal contract approval, we hope by the end of April. So be cognizant of that timeline, and then also salary and benefit recommendations for the non-bargaining individuals will follow that. That is all I have. I would certainly be willing to entertain any questions you have.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Larson, and congratulations, everyone out in the audience. Very proud. Thank you. There's no board policy tonight, so that takes us to general business. There's one item under there for consent approval to approve authorization to purchase 2 new school buses from North Central Business Sales utilizing National Joint Powers Alliance for a total amount of $221,710 for the 2017-18 school year. I would entertain a motion to approve that as presented tonight.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That takes us to personnel. We have 2 items there to look at. First, recommendation to approve requests for new positions for the 2017-18 school year. Superintendent Larson, would you like to lead us through that, please?
Madam Chair, as you've seen prior to, 5-year plans outlined a variety of needs, etc. The presentation of what I would be recommending and requesting is, 2 K-8 teachers. The additional 2 K-8 teachers allows us to take a proactive approach to growth, successfully manage class size, or address areas of need in core content areas for the 17-18 school year. I'd also recommend the addition of a 5-8 assistant principal with middle school activities coordinator. This would allow us to support approximately 1,200 kids, 118 teachers, and then ultimately fill a valuable role in the area of supervision surrounding middle school activities. Our high school administration and I have worked closely together as we've had our student registrations come in for this next year, and I would note that a .5 high school ag teacher is needed to meet our registration of our students. The addition of .5 music, which ultimately is an increase from a halftime music position to a full-time music position, solves a wide variety of problems at the high school, middle school, and a couple of elementaries. So the cost associated with moving this .5 to a full-time FTE is very, very efficient use of funds. And then the .2 high school art allows us to create a full-time art position, or one FTE for the Fred Assam School District, and then meet the needs of our high school students there. I would note that our high school has the ability to send a couple periods of computers to the intermediate school, so we were able to utilize our staff to meet some of the needs down there as well. And then I would also note for literacy coaches, so building off of the current model that we have with our technology coaches, a literacy coach would be able to provide coaching and aid in the development of classroom instruction and curriculum to each of our respective buildings. So our principals would have the ability to utilize those individuals in the most effective and efficient way they feel necessary. It may look a little different in each building, utilizing student growth, data, individual instruction, coaching, those types of things. But it's all built on our current technology coaching model. It would be an hourly wage. Those 4 individuals cost approximately $12,000. Additional dollars to our alternative schools. There's increasing demand on that in the amount of $15,000. And then a few special education items, one early childhood position, one middle school special education position, and then our operations department has requested a mechanic, and you can certainly see the request for that. So at this point in time, I would recommend approving those additional staffing positions for the 17-18 school year, and would entertain any questions you may have.
Superintendent Larson,
Yep.
just adding it up, I didn't do it real quick, adding them up, how many full-time, or what do you get, 2, 3 full-time positions out of this, or what?
It was approximately $371,000. $62,000 for a full-time equivalent was $124,000. The 5-8 assistant principal slotted with benefits and insurance was $90,000. So it looks like 2, 3, 4.5, some odd. Yeah.
A question on the assistant principal and activities coordinator. Logistically, how will that work? Is that person going to be split between the 2 schools?
Certainly, great question. So because it's with middle school activities, what we'll do is we will start that individual at the Brandon Valley Intermediate School. So they will start their day at the Brandon Valley Intermediate School, serve ultimately 4 hours there, and then transition to the middle school, and then fulfill the afternoon with the middle school, and then they will be on site at the middle school and able to supervise and coordinate all of those middle school activities. So naturally, working with Principal Skibstead and Principal Thorson, we have to figure out which duties are most conducive to being in your building in the morning versus the afternoon, and I believe that we can create a workable plan with both of those individuals.
That sounds good. And then, so the first page are all essentially new positions, and those all come out of the general fund. I'm assuming the 2 special education positions come out of the special ed fund?
Yep.
And the mechanic and operations comes out of the general fund as well?
Correct.
Okay. And then Teach Well, is that out of?
That's the general fund, is it not? Yes.
Okay. And then this is what you would anticipate being all of the new staffing that you would be requesting for next year, unless you have curriculum or enrollment increases that would justify
Correct.
additional staff?
Yes. I would note there may be some additional special education paraprofessional needs depending on student need. But I would say we will not look more at that till we get closer to the start of school, as kids go in and out and some of those needs fluctuate greatly.
So I'll just make a comment. I really appreciate the opportunity to see this all together. We've been talking about this for a while, and I think it's very helpful for us. We've seen, obviously, the requests from 5-year plans and so forth, but to see the plan and all at one time is very useful. Thank you.
And I would like to thank my administrative council. The administrative team is quite fun and quite interesting when we get around the table and we say, okay, what do you need? What do you got to give? What are your priorities? And yeah, they're a passionate group. They want to do great things for kids, and I appreciate their willingness to work through the process. And yeah, they did a great job, so I appreciate that.
I move to approve the request for new positions for the 17-18 school year.
Second. There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next, we have approved the recommendation to hire Kristen Hofkamp through Albert Bennis Elementary Principal at $71,500 effective the 2017-2018 school year. Superintendent Larson.
Yes, first I want to thank all the individuals who were involved throughout the process. I want to thank the members of the administrative team for taking their time away from their families and their evenings and helping with that, whether it be the first round or the second round. Greatly appreciate your insight and your feedback. The RBE teaching staff for their time and their insight, the RBE certified staff, and ultimately the RBE PTA. All of those individuals played a vital role as we worked through the selection process of the RBE principal candidates. It's safe to say the shoes to fill are huge, and it's going to be an extremely big challenge for any individual coming into that position. But we're very excited to have Mrs. Kristen Hofkamp join our administrative team, and I would, without any reservation, strongly recommend approval of her contract. We greatly look forward to working with her.
Before I move to approve the recommendation to hire Mrs. Hofkamp, I have to say I have the great pleasure and honor of having a child who had her for a teacher, and she will be an incredible principal, but I'm sad because we're losing one of our rock star teachers. She's incredible. So I can't speak enough praises about Mrs. Hofkamp. She was just an amazing human being. So a great job in selecting her, and I move to approve.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, and welcome Mrs. Hofkamp to the administrative team at BV. Appreciate your willingness to fill that role. And Mrs. Hayden, we love you. Okay. All right, that takes us to consent items 3 through 12. I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented this evening.
Move to approve personnel items 3 through 12.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. There's one information only there about a transfer. There's a thank you note under communication to the Board of Education from Mrs. Huska. And that takes us to formal reports. Does anyone have a formal report that they would like to share tonight?
I don't have a board report. I wasn't planning to say anything, but I just have to say that I can't, having sat on the curriculum committee with Mrs. Stallero since she arrived, I can't imagine a more worthy award than the one she received tonight. So I'm thrilled to see that happen, and we're very blessed to have her working with our curriculum activities at this district.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagelin. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony last Thursday for Teach Well, which is our alternative education school. We got to see some BV alums there in the transition program. It was fun to see. Many compliments from the chamber and from area businesses about our school district, our kids, our staff, especially Mr. Babb and Superintendent Larson, from Mr. Stalinga at Dakota Abilities. So congratulations. It was fun to see them, and the kids were having a fun time holding the ribbon and cutting the ribbon. It's a lot of fun. If you have not been down to see what the alternative education program looks like in the old Beatles School building, for those of us from Sioux Falls forever, go down and check it out. We've done a lot of remodeling. It's a great facility. It's a wonderful place. The kids are being taught by former BV grads, Rebecca Thompson being one of them. It's a great place for our kids to have an alternative to go to, so very proud. Anyone else have anything tonight? If not, there's a travel report there for your review. And with that, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session, South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2.4 for teacher contract negotiation preparations.
So moved.
Second.